All right, great, awesome. So, hello everyone. This is Hani from Education USA Czech Republic, and today I have four special guests from Regis College. So I have Joelle here, I have Megan, I have Nick, and Nidhi together with me, who are going to talk about on-campus employment, about internships, and about other employment services that are for international students in general and specifically at Regis College. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining today.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you for having us.
Great, awesome. So before I leave the floor to them, so I just quickly wanted to say that Education USA Czech Republic or Education USA in general is a network that helps you guys if you decide to study in the United States at a university. We offer free services. We can help you guide you through the entire process from selecting schools to going through the application process and scholarships and so forth. So if you are in that, place where you're thinking about it and it's your dream to study in the US, please send me an email. You can find me on social media under Education USA Czech, and I'll be happy to help you. But today, I'm so excited to have these four people from Regis College because many students are already in the United States and they are eager to work. They are eager to learn through internships, through hands-on activities. And you are still internationals and you are still on certain type of visa. So I'm excited to have these experts here and they'll tell you what your opportunities are and where to search for them and how to apply and all of that. So I'll leave the floor to Megan. Thank you so much again for joining, and I'm excited to learn new things today.
Thank you, Hani, and thank you to EdUSA Czech Republic for the invitation. We're really excited to be here. My name is Dr. Megan Gibbons, and I serve as director of the Regis Center for Global Connections.
Mhm.
So I'm going to start, and then my colleagues will take over the specifics about employment and career services. But I always like to start with this sort of defining terms, right? And this is why. We're here because you are exploring opportunities to study in the United States. And that's a really exciting prospect. And when you want to make that dream come true, you're going to have to learn to navigate two important systems. One is the higher education system in the US, and that is the academic part of this journey, right? So you need to research the colleges and universities to determine, do they have the degree programs you're interested in? What resources and support services are available to you? What's the cost? And most importantly, what's the application process, right? But as you're navigating all of that, as an international student, you also need to learn about the other system, which is the US immigration system. And so that part, in terms of compliance and making sure that you have the right visa and all the paperwork and everything in order, can be quite daunting. It can be a little overwhelming. And so when I have the opportunity to work with international students from around the world, I always like to start by defining terms and understanding some of the terms that we use when we talk about the immigration system, the acronyms and the jargon. Okay, so we will get to employment, I promise, but I need a few minutes just to run us through this context. So to start with, there are two general categories of those who enter the US, immigrant and non-immigrant. As an international student, you are a non-immigrant. So for our purposes, that means temporary. Okay, you're coming to the US to study for a defined period of time. The idea is you complete that degree and then you depart the US. So within those two categories of immigrant and non-immigrant, there are all kinds of visa types. And in the non-immigrant category, the visa types include things like the J visa, which you may have heard of, which is for exchange. They include the M visa, which is for English language learning. But in your case, if you're looking to complete a university degree, you're going to receive an F visa, okay? So the F visa is what you will be applying for to enter the US to study, and your status will be as a non-immigrant.
Mhm.
So who manages all of this? Essentially, it's the Department of Homeland Security. And so in many countries in other parts of the world, that's like a home ministry or a ministry of the interior, okay? And the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has one primary goal, and that's to protect national security, all right? So we have millions of people entering the US, and they are charged with making sure that those who come have the proper documentation and are entering legally.
Mhm.
There are over 1 million students, international students, in the US. The last year, the most recent data that we have, right, was over 1 million international students. And so the Department of Homeland Security needs help managing the student portion of this, and they created what is called the Student Exchange Visitor Program, or SEVP. So the Student Exchange Visitor Program is responsible for making sure that all of the universities and colleges who enroll international students or who host scholars are authorized to do so. They also manage the records of all of the students and scholars who enter the US. So that's a lot of paperwork. And in order to manage that paperwork, they created the Student Exchange Visitor Information System, which is SEVIS. So SEVIS tracks all of the records, everything from the I-20 to CPT and OPT, which we'll get to. So in order to help manage the million of international students who come in each year or who are already here, the SEVP, right, and DHS, they've asked universities and colleges to appoint a designated school official, or a DSO. So at Regis College, we have been authorized by SEVP to receive international students, and the designated school official is me, right? So I have the access to the student information system. I'm the one who has access to SEVIS, and I help them then manage those records. The other organization that we need to mention today for the purpose of employment is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Office, or the USCIS. They do many things, but for your purposes today, what they do that impacts you is authorize work or employment, right? So they are the ones who produce the employment authorization document, which is a little card, your work card that says you're eligible to work in the US. There are two kinds of work that we'll focus on today: the curricular practical training, which you may have heard of as CPT, and then optional practical training, which is OPT. So now we can get to what you're most interested in today's topic, employment while you're completing your degree. Essentially, there are limited ways to work as an international student. On-campus employment is one of those options. There are some rules, though, around the on-campus employment. And while you're in your academic session, while you're taking classes and pursuing that degree, you're limited to 20 hours of work per week. You can work full-time if it's a vacation period, okay? And if you're working on campus, whether that's at Regis or anywhere else in the US, you don't need the USCIS approval to be able to work, okay? And that's good because that costs extra money. So, and it's extra time. So you simply need to connect with your DSO and make sure that they know that you're going to have an on-campus job and no extra approval is required. It's important to note that you're not eligible for what we call federal work-study positions, and my colleague Joelle will speak a little bit more about that. But there are institutional positions. They could be anywhere. They might be in a bookstore, they might be in the dining hall, they might be in athletics, right? All of the on-campus, job opportunities that are not federal work study are available to you. Now, for off-campus employment, there really are 3 ways that you can be authorized to work off campus. One is if there is a severe economic hardship, economic necessity, and that does require authorization by USCIS, okay? The one that you're most likely to consider while you're pursuing your degree is CPT, okay? And that's authorized by the DSO, right? In this case, it would be me. When you finish your degree and you've earned the right to work for up to 1 year in the US, that's when you apply for OPT, and that's authorized by, again, the USCIS. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about CPT and OPT, and then I'll hand it over for other on-campus employment options. So CPT is managed through SEVP and CVIS, right? That means you work with that designated school official, and we can authorize you to work without going through USCIS. You do have to pick a job or training, right, that's related to your field of study, and it has to be integral to your degree program. So usually these are internships or practical training opportunities that are required part of your degree progression, okay? You don't get charged additional fees, and you may be paid for this internship or you may not, but either way, it's off campus, it's connected to your degree. We want it noted and authorized on your I-20. And so you would work with your faculty advisor. There's an employment verification form, and you work with the designated school official to recommend CPT on your I-20, and then you show that to your employer, and that is your work authorization. So when you are finished with your degree, you can work in the US for up to 12 months per education level, right? So if you get a bachelor's degree in the US, you've spent 4 years here, you're eligible for 12 months of work experience. You have to work in a field directly related to your field of study, to your degree program. Again, you need your DSO to recommend the OPT. But in this case, I, as the DSO, I can't say, okay, you're good to go, you can go start working. You have to apply to the USCIS, who make the final decision on whether you're authorized to work or not. So that form is called the I-765, and it does cost $470 to file that form. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks usually to receive approval. You can do the form online now, which is helpful. You don't actually have to have a job offer in hand yet to apply for OPT. So if you're getting to the end of your degree program, you can go ahead and apply to be authorized while you're working on lining up that job. So you can apply 90 days before your program end date and up to 60 days after you end the program. So I hope this is somewhat helpful. I know it's a lot of information and a lot of different terms, but it should give you the context in which you can think about curricular practical training opportunities and then post-degree optional practical training. So at this point, I'm going to stop and hand things over to Joelle, who will talk to you about student employment on campus.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today, and thank you so much for being here. So let's talk about the fun part, working on campus. As I said, I am Joelle, and I am the Student Employment Coordinator here at Regis College. So the office is called Student Employment Office. So, and the program is called Work Study Program. So when you're looking for a job on campus, you probably at Regis College, you will find me here, St. Joseph Hall, room 225. But if you are looking for a job on campus in the United States, you want to find the Student Employment Office and reach out to that person, the designated person who can help you find job on campus. So what's the purpose of our office? We're dedicated to help students find employment opportunities, again, on campus. We provide resources for those career development, and we guide every student, we guide domestic students and also international students to find those jobs on campus. And also we guide them through the process, how to find the job on campus, where to go, how to sign up. At Regis College, we do have Handshake, where all the jobs will be posted on that designated career service. So we do support students in career exploration, and we offer guidance on employment, and we are the bridge basically between the students and the job opportunities. So that's what the Student Employment Office does. We do help you find jobs on campus. So if you're looking for that, you're going to find that office and college you choose to attend. So types of student employment, and this is also in every student. So the work-study program is split into two: federal work-study and institutional work-study. So federal work-study are for students who can apply for a FAFSA, but for federal aid. In the case of international students, they do apply for a FAFSA, but with non-federal aid. So in this case, international students will be looking for institutional employment. So federal work-study, basically the funds will be funded by the government for according to financial needs of, domestic students. Mm-hmm. But for international students, because they apply for a FAFSA, and they apply for non-federal aid. So they will be looking for institutional employment. Now here at Regis College, we call it institutional employment. Some other colleges might call it non-federal work-study employment. They might call it on-campus employment. So today when you reach out to the Student Employment Office at the designated school or whatever you pick to attend in the United States, you ask them, what is the non-federal work-study positions called in your office? Because they do call them different things. Here at Regis College, we call them institutional employment. So institutional employment are funded by the department. And that's why the international students can actually work under institutional employment. So what are these some employments that the students can benefit with? Like, for example, here at Regis College, Fine Arts Center hires institutional students. Some IT, the IT department, the technology department, they hire institutional students. Center for Student Engagement, they hire institutional students, which is international students. We have the gear shop, the bookstore. So at the institution or at the college you choose to pick, you need to ask those questions. What are your institutional jobs? So what entities are there on campus? Like, for example, we have the gear shop, we have Dunkin', we have the mail room, they hire also institutional jobs. We have the bistros, so when you decide to go to the college in the United States and you reach out to the Student Employment Office, these are the questions you need to ask. So what are your institutional jobs that me as an international student can actually work? And it's very important to mention that you are an international student because the requirements are a bit different than domestic students. So how do we find those institutional jobs? As I mentioned before, our primary platform for viewing and applying for jobs is Handshake. But this is just for Regis College. So for other universities, they might have different platform for their career services. So you ask that as well. Some departments, they do promote their jobs just on bulletin boards or direct inquiries. So they send emails to the students, hey, we're hiring. And here I'm talking about maybe they have at the college a Starbucks, and that Starbucks is hiring, and that's still on campus. We're talking on campus employment, so it cannot be off campus. And I do suggest that you regularly check the career platform, because they're always adding and maybe closing it. Maybe you have like a job in mind and you say, okay, I'm going to apply to that one later when I have time. Maybe it's closed. So you stay on top of it. You apply right away if you're interested. And as I said, it's very important to say that you are an international student who is interested in working on campus, because you cannot work off campus. And of course, the student employment coordinator, which is me, I will be here to help every person with job search, and we support in that also. So, like any other job, there's an application and hiring process is required to work on campus. So we cannot just start working. There will be, you will be asked to apply with a resume and with a cover letter. The Office of Student Employment is here to help with resumes and cover letter, as well as the Career Center. So if you need help or preparation for interview questions, because you will be doing also an interview with the department that you choose to work for. So you will have a basic interview with the supervisor. So if you do also need help, maybe practice some questions or practice an interview, I will be here to help. And of course, there will be a student employment contract to complete. It's a very basic contract: your name, last name, your permanent address, which is your home address, no matter where you're from. And just like a basic contract, just so we keep record of the students who are actually working on campus. You are required to complete a tax form, which is a W-4 form. It's a very basic form to complete, along with an I-9. So Form I-9 is a federal form that will require IDs and will require work authorization. That's why, going back to Megan, when she was saying about the DSO, because the DSO can actually come with like a social security number that is for work authorization only. And on that social security number, you will have an expiration date of when you need to stop working on campus. And that's usually the graduation date, or when they finish their, their school year. So there will be a process. It's very basic. The student employment coordinator is usually here to help with every process and to guide you through everything. But as for on-campus employment, we would love to have you. We'd love to have you working on campus. And there will be a lot more opportunities. You just need to, discover those opportunities with a designated person in the student employment process. So now I'm going to give the mic to Nick. It's all yours, Nick.
Joelle, thank you so much. Hani, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. I do apologize to everyone that I had to turn my camera off for a moment. Apparently closed doors mean people knock louder. I don't understand why, but apparently that's how it happens. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nick Lanier. I'm the director of the Center for Internships and Career Development here at Regis College. And so as you're on your journey, and as you're looking at institutions that interest you and have those programs that you are interested in, one thing at American institutions are these offices called either career services or internships and career development. They go by multiple names, but typically they are a career center. And what that does, my basic function, is how do we align the program that you are in with the outcome that you want? So, for example, if you are a business major at whichever institution you select, my job in that is to link you with the outcome that you desire. And this happens in two particular ways. And Dr. Gibbons and I really talk about this, particularly around CPT. That is a key element for you to be successful in internships, because that is the authorization that allows that. Each institution does that differently, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So really, the function of my office is the ability to help you with your experience and your education, turn that into a resume, which is used here in the United States, to get you into that job that you're desiring. That's ultimately the function. Now, inside of that, I help students with how to write a resume, because in the United States, there's a particular way with which that is done. How do you interview? How do you dress appropriately for an interview? Like there are some nuanced things that go on. And so really my role is to help you learn that. Ultimately, what I do is I provide you the skills so you have the toolkit that you need to be a success. And so all of the things that are on the screen where it talks about one-on-one counseling or seminars that I host, and I host seminars here at Regis College. In fact, we'll have one coming in February. We have our career readiness fair where all students can come, and many of my colleagues and peers are there to help students looking at resumes, doing mock interviews, learning what that is like, offering professional headshots, like all of these components so that you as a student are able to achieve the success that you're already starting to view. So those are really the things. Thank you. Okay, so internships are interesting. So in the United States, most colleges require an internship as a part of the completion of a degree program. At Regis College is actually linked academically. So each one of the students here at Regis College, they are required by the academic program to have at least one internship, and that internship is linked directly to a class that the student must take. And so again, when you're looking at institutions, when you're looking at, hey, this is the degree that I'm really interested in, on most of those websites, it will break down for you what the map is for that degree program. That is very important to use because at that point, you can begin to plan and see what those requirements would be. In my role, I help students find those opportunities. So when it comes to internships, I work directly with faculty. I work directly with the students. And what we do is find those opportunities whereby students can have that internship opportunity and that success that then allows them to take the experience and the education they now have and move that forward into a possible career. Our students at Regis they intern darn near all over the place. We had a student that was General Dynamics, which is a rather large corporation. A lot of our students are in health services. So a majority of the major hospitals here in our area, you will find Regis College students performing those tasks around this area. So the key is knowing what your program requires, and then along with that, engaging that career office. The way we do that at Regis is we have a 4-year plan. So if you can imagine, you come to the United States, you meet with Dr. Gibbons, you say, Regis College is exactly where I want to be. You will meet me initially in your first year. And so what we do is we start walking you through. So you'll see my office from your first year until you graduate, because we want to provide you all of those necessary tools so that you can be the success that you are seeing yourself be now. That 4-year program mirrors the academic plan so that you can look at your degree program and combine that with, oh, this is when I'm going to see this career office, and you can start building the building blocks that you need to be the success. Best practices for all students, international, domestic, is you have to kind of start thinking a little earlier on about what you want to do upon graduation. Unfortunately, many people, not many, but perhaps there are some who wait until the last minute. And that puts a student in a position we probably don't want to be in, right? We want to make sure that, again, if you are an international student, there's some timelines and some things that you want to make sure you meet. This becomes a part of that. Thinking about what you want to be able to do and where you want to go beyond graduation. Definitely. Making appointments at a career center. I have appointments with students daily that talk about many of these things, especially the job search and what does that look like and how do I engage that employment. Working on resumes is another piece of this, that I sit down with students and we really start to break down what their experience is and their education and turn that into what an employer is looking for so that they are the candidate that employer selects. And the other part is this. the best time to engage career services is early on.
Mhm.
That is a key element because this is a service that is offered to all students and it's absolutely free. There is no cost to coming to my office to receive help. And so I want to let you students know that this is what is offered at colleges in the United States. Here at Regis, we do this as well, but it's a service that is provided to everyone. So there's no need to feel as though you cannot come into that office. Rather, I'm here for all of those students.
I would like to just jump in because I'm thinking you might be wondering about, oh, these on-campus jobs, they sound great. I'd love to have an opportunity to help offset some of the costs. How much, Joelle, might I typically earn as an international student in one of these campus positions?
Yeah, I had these notes and I was looking at my notes right now. I was like, what is it that I didn't mention? Because I had bullet points that I wanted to mention to all the students. I know they'll be interested in. Okay, so basically, as on-campus employment or any employment under work study, they can only do 20 hours a week.
Mhm.
So international students, federal work study, institutional students, they can only work 20 hours a week. Now, according to the state, they choose to attend, like here in Massachusetts, and if you were to attend Regis College, so the minimum wage is $15 per hour. Now, the pay can be more, depends on the department, depends on what the department wants to pay, but for the minimum wage would be $15 and up. This is where they start at $15 and only 20 hours a week. They cannot exceed that. So based on the state, whatever the states require, whatever the state's minimum wage is, in Massachusetts, the minimum wage is $15 per hour.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I do have some questions because we do have some live viewers. So first question was when I think it was Joelle or maybe Megan, when you talked about work study. So there was a question, who to contact if I want to become an RA, and if you do have such position in Regis College.
We do have this.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have this position at Regis College, resident assistant, and you would reach out to John Hernandez.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you please, maybe if some people don't know what RA is, can you please just summarize what the position is all about?
Yes. So basically, the resident assistant is helping the residents at all levels. I mean, I can pull up the job description right now and read it off, but like helping, basically but there are some requirements to become a resident assistant. That's why I would suggest contacting John Hernandez to know more about the position and exactly what they will be doing, because I do believe there are some requirements to become a resident assistant. And as a resident assistant, there are first-year resident assistant, second-year resident assistant, and they're all different job description, but they're basically helping, the residents, students who lives on campus. They do have a lot of responsibilities to do.
I would just add that, we consider that, and many institutions consider that, a leadership position. So it is a good one to consider because it helps build skills that, again, are going to look good when you're applying for jobs in the future. And resident assistants are part of the Residence Life team. So they're providing help and guidance to those who live in the residence halls on campus. They receive special training. Training related to, interpersonal conflict, training related to health and safety. And so that is a position, if you're interested in meeting a lot of people, being a leader on campus, being responsible for other people's safety and well-being, right? So there's a certain level of there's a degree of seriousness to that role. So they are often competitive positions, but there will be a very clear process on any U.S. institution for how to express interest in that role, how to apply for that position, and then with the help of Joelle or Nick or others to sort of practice for those very specific interviews and the skills that you need to showcase to be hired as an RA. So hopefully that helps that particular student, right, understand that role and how to get started.
Thank you. Thank you both. There was another question that popped up when we were talking about optional practical training. And the person is asking whether there is a difference in length of optional practical training if he studies in a STEM field.
Yes, that's a good question. So there is, remember we mentioned Department of Homeland Security, the DHS. DHS produces a list of STEM designated programs. So the Department of Homeland Security has a list of STEM programs. If your degree program is included in that list, then you are eligible to extend your OPT with an additional 2 years. So the STEM extension, that's what that is called, allows a student then to work for up to 3 years in the United States upon completing their degree program. So you do your 1 year of OPT, and then you work with your DSO and your employer to apply for that extension. So it is a separate process, Hani, that they will they'll do that twice. But it's a fantastic opportunity for anyone pursuing a STEM degree to gain even more valuable hands-on learning experience before that 3-year period ends.
That's very good. That's very good. And then I have a student, and I think it was when Joel was talking, and she was asking me that she has a dual citizenship. She is a Czech and American. And therefore, when she's asking for a job, and you mentioned the federal student work and how important it is to mention that you are an international student, is this double citizenship student eligible for FAFSA or no, if he has an American citizenship and a Czech citizenship?
Yeah, he has US passport, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Then that would be federal work study for him. Who would be apply, but not automatically, because they apply for FAFSA, and financial aid will tell them, like, once they're financial, it's basically the federal work study is based on financial needs. So based on their financial situation, financial aid will tell them how much federal work study if they are eligible for federal work study or not. But they will be, but also if someone with a United States passport and they apply for FAFSA and they turn out to be not eligible for federal work study, they still can apply for institutional employment.
Yeah.
So,
okay, perfect.
But in that case, they will apply for financial aid, and they'll see if they're eligible for federal work study.
That's cool. Awesome. Thank you. And there are 2 more questions. One of them is about, if they apply for a job on campus, and if they receive some salary, do they have to have an American bank account? And is there anyone who helps them set it up?
They need an American bank account. Yes, of course. To be honest, I'm not sure of alternative ways to cash a check. I don't know if anyone here knows. I've never done it, but I don't know if you can cash a check maybe at MoneyGram or Western. I'm really not sure, but if you can cash out a check, but it's going to need a
I do.
But I don't know if there are alternatives for that.
I'm sorry. So that is a great question. I do know here at Regis, at least, we have like the first week of classes, everybody, we have a big fair that comes on to the campus. And I know of 2 of the presenters who are actually banks. And what they're trying to do is help college students start their own bank account. And so you may have access based on what your individual institution is doing around that space. But I think the DSO at each institution would also probably be a very good ally in navigating that. Like for us, Dr. Gibbons is kind of your first point of contact. So if you're looking at Regis College, Dr. Gibbons and you become best friends pretty much. But so if you can imagine that individual at those institutions, those are really going to be your helping agents. They're really going to be the ones who can help you navigate those particular questions, simply because coming to the United States, and let's say you do receive a job and now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out how do I have access to these funds that I have now earned. Your DSO is going to be that point person who can get you in the right direction and set you up the right way. So I would always defer when it comes to things like that. Always go back to your institution's DSO, because that is if you can imagine at Regis College, Dr. Gibbons is the point person for any questions around international students. And so a part of that responsibility, I would assume, is also kind of handling some of these smaller housekeeping questions where is I could give you advice, but to be quite honest, I'm not sure my advice would be the correct advice because I'm not the subject matter expert, whereas Dr. Gibbons is. So I think about it in that way, that those helping agencies with some of these questions are already on campus and can answer them in a way that makes it much easier for you, right? Our job is to remove some of those hurdles for you.
Absolutely. I speak on behalf of all the DSOs out there, right? We handle everything from social security numbers to bank accounts to when, if you want to get a driver's license in the US, right? We'll work with you through that process too. So please do, consult with the DSO around any of those questions about just kind of getting started and established.
That's great. There was like
so answering the last question, we do help you start the bank account. We can help you. We're here to help. We're here to answer your questions and guide you to the right person.
Yeah, it was like there was a PS now, like I really want my American bank account. So it was he doesn't want to cash it out. He really wants to have that card. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. And the last question is actually for Nick. And it's regarding internships. And it is a pretty long question, so I summarized it a little. And apparently, this student is studying at a Czech university and is just interested in internships in the United States in general. If you have an advice, if this can happen, that a student who is not an American student, who is an international student, but is interested just to apply for an internship and where to find these internships for a shorter period of time and how to get like these hands-on activities.
Sure. And so this is, I think it's a complex question. So I think we have to kind of step it back just a little bit.
Sure.
So in the United States and American institutions, the internship opportunity is closely linked to the academic program of that institution. So using Regis as an example, students who are studying, let's say, psychology, for example, I work with those students along with their faculty to find those opportunities. I do not know, and I'd be happy to look this up, and Hani, I can provide you an answer once I find it out, what the rule or how it would work for a student who is at a university overseas who wants to come to the United States simply to do the internship, and then I would assume go back to their home institution.
Yes.
I need to do some research on that one. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I will give it to Dr. Gibbons because it looks like she can answer it better than I.
I'll just add, Hani, that there are ways to do that. It typically involves the J visa, which is the one we didn't talk about today. So there are opportunities with the J exchange to do internships, and the student might look at like something like the Bridge program. But typically you do need to have, that's the hurdle, right? You still have to have the authorization to come to the US and engage in that activity. And so in this case, because it's not degree seeking, it's the internship itself, that's typically a J program. So you're looking for institutions that have J programs that could sponsor the internship component of that academic experience the student's trying to cultivate for themselves. So hopefully that helps a little.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that he or she who posed the question now has to do the research on Bridge USA. It's a wonderful website though, Bridge USA and internships and so forth. But thank you so much for guiding us through this all. And yeah, I don't see any more questions, but guys who are watching, if you think about anything, please type it underneath the live stream. I'm happy to reply later. Or this is there is a QR code that leads to
Nidhi, do you want to introduce yourself quickly and tell them what the QR code leads them to?
Hello, everybody. My name is Nidhi, and I look after international recruitments for Regis College. Yes, the QR code leads to Regis website, so you can learn a lot more about our college. And in case if you need to inquire anything about the admission process, the application process, or anything related to, the courses or the programs what we offer, I'm more than happy to answer any of those questions. My email ID is mentioned on the slide. Looking forward to get some emails then.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for all the information. And I'm so happy for you guys to join us live and ask these questions. I hope this was helpful. And I hope that you consider applying to Regis College. And you can see that there is a robust, office that will help you with prep for on-campus jobs and afterwards, what you can do and polish your resumes and so forth, which is amazing. So take advantage, ask questions, and thank you, Joelle, Megan, Nick, and Nidhi for your expertise. Yeah, thank you and have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
honey.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.